Thing that unfortunately I never got a chance to do was to have a conversation with Dedon about a trip that I made back in 1972. So, since Dedon is here today in his spiritual form, I'll tell it now. In 1972, I went to Mexico. I've been there many times, and I've always been to Mexico City, spent time with my relatives, and then I would take side trips to Acapulco and have fun over there. But this time, I said I'm going to do something different. I took a trip to Veracruz. And when I got to Veracruz, I went ahead and I checked into the Emporio Hotel, a Mexican hotel, not owned by American capitalists, but by Mexicans. And after I checked in, I went ahead and I took a look around the town. And I noticed that on the wall, there were some people. Some African people. And I thought at first they were Cubans. As I got closer, I heard the speech, and it was not Cuban speech. It was Mexican speech. And I asked them how long they had been there. And they said, our families have been here for generations. They didn't know anything about that. And I wish I had told Dedon about that, because when I came back after that trip, I thought differently of myself and realized that the connection to Africa was stronger than ever. Hotep, and power to the people. Pa'lante.
My name is Muhammad Navarez, in case some of you don't know me. I'm a former original LA Black Panther. And I came to know Dedon when we former Panthers in LA got involved with the campaign of Free Geronimo in the early 90s. And since that time, I've come to realize that Dedon was very knowledgeable, very bright and articulate, and very engaging person, and always active in the community. We loved him for that. Our breakfast, some of you are now coming to our reunion breakfast, our Black Panther reunion breakfast. It's now being held at Simply Wholesome. That breakfast was originated by Marvin Jackson and Roland Freeman. And when Roland died recently, Dedon took the initiative to step up to the plate to keep the ball rolling. And now the breakfast is growing and developing, and there's a lot of folk coming in that support the Black Panther legacy and all that we represent. And all of the young people that are now coming together and engaging with each other at the breakfast, it makes it a very bright occasion for folks to get together. Dedon was a very good man. I pray that Allah will forgive him of any sin he may have committed on the earth. I pray that God will reward him for all the good that he did on this earth. And I pray that Allah's angels will stay around his other half and the rest of his family, and may he guide all of us down the path that's straight. Assalamu
What's family? My name is Songang Bele, Andre Providence. You know, I could talk about how beautiful this location is here. It's only appropriate that we're here because there are all kinds of birds. Some flock on the ground and some soar like eagles. This is truly an appropriate place for us today in memory of Brother Dedon. I was very fortunate in my life to have met, I said learn from him, yes, that too, but to have met him back in an earlier age. It was back in, I joined the All African People's Party back in 1978 and at Morgan State University. He was always there. When we brought Kwame Ture to campus, Brother Dedon was always there to, first of all, he was there bringing him on the college tour, I call it. Morgan, Howard University, Coppin State, Maryland Eastern Shore, all of black schools, Lincoln, all the way down to Virginia. But anyway, I don't have much time, I'll just say this. He liked the fact I was a part of the political education cell. That meant that I had to go to these campuses and try to wake up people. I recall going to student unions at a black university and going to the student unions and turning off the TV when we were watching soap operas like The Days of Our Lives, As the World Turns, General Hospital, just turn it off, and I got so much anger that came from that big program, and announcing the fact that Dr. Bennett was coming on campus on a Friday, or Kwame Ture was coming on college, and they were so upset. They got upset when I took the stamps and stamped over all the Greek alphabets, nothing against anybody who's Greek here, or put up the posters of Kwame Ture. Dedon loved that. And we got a bond, a very close bond from that day since. And I remember working with African Liberation Day on 14th Street called Meridian Park. And I saw this brother speak truth to power. That's what he did with Smash the CIA movement, Smash the FBI. Talking truth to power just blocks away from the headquarters of the CIA. And I said, that's the kind of person that I want to be like in my life. But I'll move forward with the Smash the CIA, FBI, the anti-apartheid movement. He went to Howard University and said, look, this is a black institution. We need to divest. They were saying like, what, divest in Shell and IBM and Exxon? You gotta be crazy. That's our bread and butter. If we don't get money from these corporations, we're gonna go down because black folks don't support us. But he still worked with the chair and the board and insisted that we divest. So he led the divestment movement. There's so much more. 2 minutes won't allow me to share, but I'm very fortunate. He also introduced me one other thing that's important. There was a Southwest People's Organization fighting for the rights of Southwest Africa to become Namibia. One of his colleague friends, he entrusted me to, his friend was in exile. So he was over here, he entrusted me enough to have this brother stay at my house. That's how he was. He would say, look, you know, we need the revolution. We got to put ourselves up in hotels, motels. This is nothing compared to what's happening on the other side of the ocean. This is nothing but a sacrifice, like they're sacrificing. So I didn't know his name was Joseph Obambu, and he turned out to be a very powerful leader for the Namibian, free Southwest Africa, Namibian movement. Today, Namibia is free. And I contribute all of that revolutionary activity, Angola, Namibia, everywhere, to his direct action and not just rhetoric. Thank you for letting me share.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Kwejo Obeng. I wrote the book, We Are All Africans, exposing the negative influence of the Judeo-Christian Islamic religions on Africa. I met Brother Dedon by means of the book. I was invited to a fundraiser, and I was asked to say something about it.
Yeah, I mean...
After this session, Brother Dedon said, I want you on my show. That was my first introduction to the alien community with the book. We spoke and we got a lot of calls. After the show, Brother Dedon said, I want to have lunch with you. So one Sunday afternoon, we met in Ahmed Park, we had lunch, and he said, Brother Obeng, I've read your book. Those of you who know the book, it's more than almost 800 pages. And the second to the last chapter, I talked about unification of Africa, integration of Africa. He read it and said, you know, Brother Obeng, there is no African who is championing this cause like Kwame Nkrumah did. I was surprised to hear that because my background was from Christianity, Jehovah's Witness, we didn't want anything to do with Kwame Nkrumah when I was in Africa. But now he said there is no African championing integration of Africa, and he says you can do it, Brother Obeng. So that's a big responsibility. Somebody has to do it. So my introduction to Brother Dedon was a responsibility. I have vowed to take on the challenge that we must integrate Africa. We can have revolutions all around Africa, but the center is Africa. Just like Kwame Nkrumah said here, which Brother Dedon quoted to me, the core of the Black Revolution is in Africa. And until Africa is united under a socialist government, the black man and woman throughout the world lacks a national home. I am a U.S. citizen. When I go to Ghana, I have to get a passport. Why? You also have to get passports. Why? Because we are not considered citizens of Africa. We must take back the continent, put it together, so we can all be citizens of Africa, wherever we go. This is what Brother Dedon encouraged me to do, and this is what I've dedicated my life to do. Last night I got a call from Sister Ted when she broke the news to me. I was very sad. Very, very sad, because I am new at this revolutionary game. And I look to Brother Dedon to encourage me, help me to organize the African people. Our minds are corrupted, honestly. And we need to get together, focus on the future for the sake of our race. And when she told me that, I was very sad. But Brother Dedon, you've left us, but I tell you, you are still in my head. I will hear your voice, and I will continue to walk. Oh. Thank you.
Hetapu, family, friends, Sister Kedge. Hetapu means I give power to you. My name is Brother Yao. I'm a programmer on KPFK. I'm on the Intervisions. And as one of the brothers said, Dedon was a free man. And it's hard for a black man to be a free man here in America. And it goes to show that some of us, transition at a young age here in America due to the stresses and the pressure that America does for us and puts on us. I met men in Africa, pilots, presidents who are 90, 91 years old, but Dedon could have had that same life, but he said, I'm going to be here in America and I'm going to fight for black people and fight for people in general, and that's what he did. And he would come to me at the station sometime when there would be issues at KPFK, and he would say, Brother Yao, this isn't fair, this isn't right. Let's get together and let's, meet and let's bring about a coalition and change these things, really. And that took a lot, for somebody to do, because you put yourself at risk when you go and you lead things like that. So that's what I mean, Brother Dedon was a free man, because he didn't mind putting himself at risk. And I had a chance to talk with Brother Dedon recently, and he shared a story with me about Ethiopia. And many people who know me know that I love the Ethiopian people and the Ethiopian country in general. And he goes, yeah, Brother Yao, I was over in Ethiopia in the mid-70s. I was there with George Quant. George Quant was a meditation specialist. And then we would go into the palace, go into Haile Selassie's palace, and even meet with Haile Selassie. And we would, do meditation with Haile Selassie. And he would tell me about running the streets in Addis Ababa. Back that time in Addis Ababa, in the 70s, the dogs would come out at night, all the walls would be around the buildings and everything, the hyenas would come out. But Brother Dedon's a strong man. He went through that, he braved that, and he lived to talk about that. So I just wanted to share that story with you, because a lot of you may not have known that about Brother Dedon. Blessings all.
One second before we come, I want to take the privilege of having a female sister come to the ball. They open in line.
All right. All right. I'll cut you from that, from the Haile Selassie part, just to do a little Crips and blood type of thing, because Dedon and I did a lot of work around, God bless his soul, Eritrean and Ethiopian, right? So I'm technically Eritrean, and the other brother was here earlier, is technically Ethiopian, but before that is Abyssinian, which would be in the liking of the father. So screw all that stuff, but keep it going and building, as Kwame would say, from the family to the clan to the tribe to the nation to the continent, and then on to the humanity, which is everybody here. And so I've had the privilege to know Dedon since 1842 or so. I feel like he fully arrived, because he did his background, having the India and Africa combo, and then the father kind of more cold and Polish, and the mother just beautiful, where she's from. And then arriving all the way, zoom, fast forward to Tej, who, God bless her soul, has been like a perfect partner, wife, and comrade with him. And she's the Indian thing, full circle. He made his Mecca trip to southern India with her, so that says a lot about her. Okay, back to center. So, Dedon, not only did he do a real estate appraisal for my mom's house when she's an African woman, you know, trying to do her house thing, and people were making fun of her accent and trying to try the house and getting ripped off, and he came in like a hero and just did the appraisal. She was getting ripped off daily. And he came in, and my other friend did the drywalling, and together they sat. I mean, that's just a little personal thing. And then he built my shelves, did all these things for me to just make it, and he CLA'd to make it so we could start organizing. And I had the pleasure of being right in the ocean part next to him, up the street on 4th, he's on Navy. So 3 times a day, every day, 5 days a week for a good 2,000 years. I know Dedon so damn well. That brother's the best. All that in a bag of chips with the guacamole dip and the always spices that he always wants for my mother. He's such a good brother. I'm so thankful to be here. I did some of my best organizing with him. I'm so proud. My friend Sunny, I have to say, she's here with the locks right here. We have to. Her family asked if we give a prayer for a brother who's done about 3 or 4 programs. D-Knowledge. He's on his dying bed right now. He, I think went to Yale. He's a professor, right, too. I did 3 programs with Dedon, with D-Knowledge. I mean, on the whim, and Dee came, so she just ran over here for that. So we need to give a prayer. I'm just trying to cut through a lot of stuff. A prayer for his family, for Brother D-Knowledge. He always would do things for free. At UCLA, he went on to get his China degrees, and he's almost like getting ready to join Dedon. He's really on his last week. So for Brother D-Knowledge. But I'll just, I was trying to teach Dedon how to say equality through equal participation for all people, because he really loved the Eritrean Women's Liberation Front and all this, and he really did active work, and he really was really into Ethiopia, and he knows, and we both really love all parts. And I used to try to teach him how to say Ma'adanet Bisarat Haflanet, and that just means, women and men together. And he always liked to try to say, with his little accent, Bisma Amba was one, this Xavier Mastan for the Ethiopian part. Those are 2 things he was always like trying to work it out and say them. So I had to say that for Dedon, because he'd be like, girl, you didn't say anything in your language. And then also, Dedon is the reason. There's another little Dedon worldly, person. One of my dear friends, Dominic McCurtain, we met Kwame Ture and organized for thousands of years together at UCLA, my Irish friend. Hurry up, she couldn't get an organization, couldn't get one other Irish person at UCLA to make her Celtic Student Association. So I had to do it. I was like, you gotta do it. So I was like, okay. So I was like the Black Irish. I went in there, and then we got the money, we got the group, and then it happened. Okay, so that was that. Then the Board of African Student Union couldn't get anybody. Dedon did with me, and then we got the money. That's Dedon for you. And a nutshell, bye. Ciao.
Okay. Had to come up here. My name is Tabidu Moja. I came up with my cousin Kwabena, which you know is Paul Pratt, and also Patrick Pratt. And Brother Dedon was seriously supportive of our relative Geronimo Dijaga, so we could not come up here without giving our due to this brother. He was there on the front line, not only for Geronimo Dijaga, but as the brother mentioned earlier, for Syria, but not only that, but Libya. When people didn't even want to touch Libya, this brother was there. And the United States of Africa, which Brother Gaddafi was pushing towards, the greatest aquifer of fresh water in the entire world was right there in Libya, which was taken away. The wealth that was there, and this brother stood there. So we have to, I have to come up here and speak on that. And I'm a student. I'm actually a teacher at Marcus Garvey, and I teach my students about people that came in front of us. We tend to honor Negroes, but we forget our heroes, and we have to acknowledge a brother like Dedon. And I have Brother Kwabena, which we know is Paul Pratt, and he worked very closely with Dedon, and he may share a few words with you. Thank you.
I met Dedon in 2005 at the Millions More movement. I just went on a whim, and because I'm comrades and members of the AAPRP in Chicago area, as a matter of fact, we came through from the Gary, Chicago area, and just in solidarity with our brothers, we had to show up Tuesday. But we talked. I met them there at the movement, and
I just hung out with him the whole time. I just talked to Dedon. Me and Dedon just rapped and fell in love with that brother's information and what he had to share. And so I last saw him at Brother Sharif's funeral when I was in town in March. And just always good to see him. Good brother. We were talking at Black August program in Chicago last month, and some members of the APRP was mentioning that he had fallen ill, and we were all optimistic that he would get better, but then we got word that our brother transitioned. But just wanted to talk about, you guys probably mentioned already, that best way to honor a fallen soldier. And he got a heavy one. We got to pick up that weapon and continue that fight. One love.
Hi. With National Day, the 75th anniversary of when the Vietnamese kicked out the Japanese out of the Vietnam after World War II ending, I had uploaded a few excerpts of Kwame Toure's speeches where he talks about his time in Hanoi. And while working on the video and just repeatedly hearing how Kwame Ture said Vietnamese, which for us we just say Viet in our language, really made me think about Dedon, because that's how he would say it, pretty much the same way as Kwame would say it, as well as how elders in our community would say it. Dedon was one of the few black elders that I had first met who had expressed the awesomeness and inspiration of Vietnamese liberation. With him being an elder in the black community, I was always really appreciative in how warm and welcoming he was with my involvement in black liberation. And I guess it's to say that I'm still grieving, bitter, and mad that he's gone. Because I remembered last year when I had publicly called out and verbally confronted a European settler colonialist for his apologism towards a torturer of black women, Taco of the Black Riders, at another memorial service. This Euro settler colonialist had emailed folks and cowardly tried to paint himself as a victim and fool people into believing that I had attacked him unprovokedly that day over a simple political disagreement of the riders. It was Dedon Kamathi, who was a member of the committee of the tribunal, that came into my defense and emailed folks explaining that I had called out the Euro settler colonialist for being an apologist to a rapist and abuser and torturer of black and Chicano women, which helped clear up my name, because I felt like one of the reasons why I was attacked is because he thought that he'd come at me because I was an Asian Vietnamese man who had spoke out against the misogyny of the movement. Dedon Kamathi was one of the many examples of somebody from the black elder community who had strived for international solidarity when it was needed the most. Rise in revolutionary power and in principles. Dedon, you will be missed.
Good thing you're in line, because I was going to call you.
I thought you would.
Yeah, when I first walked up here, I saw Dedon. When I looked out, I saw these mountains. After a lot of the shows we would go, because Dedon was into real estate, so we had to take pictures of places, so we were driving these hills. Century City, he was out there for the Syrians, Palestinians, a lot of different folks. UCLA, he was there nonstop. Of course, right back here at the beach, Pan-African Beach Day, which they had the past few years. Dedon would take us out there. I never got in the water with him, but, you know, go to the beach and at least eat and talk, but, you know, dirty water's not me. But I first met Dedon back in the early 1900s at the Good Life. And for us back then, you know, revolution was about rapping. We were going to rap our way to freedom. It was about riots. You know, we had the riot in Westwood, and we had the 92 riot. It was about robbing rich white folks. It was no real ideology. Then about 10 years later, I've been studying Black Power, Black Panthers, Black nationalism, got involved with the UNIA. So Dedon challenged me to go another step. He was like Pan-Africanism.
Okay, so I started learning Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, whatnot. And then a few years later, I ended up at KPFK on the Freedom Now show with him. And that is what showed me what was really important about Dedon. Beyond the rhetoric, beyond the ideology, beyond the arguments, we would go to a Hugh Masekela concert. Dedon was introducing me to every single person that was involved in the movement on an international level, on a Pan-African level. And all of these people had the highest regard for Dedon. I wasn't just Dedon, but you could tell they appreciated seeing Dedon in that moment. This is how important he was to not just our struggle here in LA or our struggle here in the US, but internationally. A couple memories that kind of stand out. I remember once at KPFK, another producer that had a show prior to ours had the Sheriff Baca there. And they tried to introduce Sheriff Baca to Dedon. Dedon threw his hands in the air and said, "I don't shake hands with pigs." I said, and just one last memory I have, almost every single week, people calling into the show, praising the show, but on the other side of it, we had people that call in and tell us, "Go back to Africa." Dedon's response was, "Sure, if you buy me a ticket, I'll go back to Africa." And that was a long way too.
Riots is what they do in soccer matches. We have uprisings and rebellions in our community. The next speaker I'm going to bring, he's still blind, but y'all don't know this, but he used to be in the AAPRP down in Florida back in the day. And he can tell stories from when I used to come out to Riverside. We were working with the Arab student union, but we won't go into that. No. Let's go with Dr. David Horn, which you all know, part of the reparations movement.
I'm going to keep this short. Number one, I don't want to have to come back here and you do one of these for me. You're losing too many people. There are some black men who spend their lives trying to figure out what to do. They come through, but don't quite get it together. There are some black men who come through, who work it out, who get in rhythm, who identify exactly what they should do. Dedon was like that. I probably knew Dedon a little longer than some of you, maybe my favorite. Dedon and I went to UCLA together in the 1970s. Dedon and I partnered to create the first cadre of the AAPRP in LA. Dedon and I worked together on the apartheid movement, the divestment movement in California. Saying that I knew him for a while means nothing. Saying that he was a Pan-Africanist the entire time that I knew him. He's a black man that I had the highest degree of respect for. We argued. We argued a lot. His version of Pan-Africanism and my version of Pan-Africanism did not always fit. But God bless Dedon, and Pan-Africanism will win.
Thank you, Dr. Okay, this will be the last one because we have to be out of here, and I have a statement to read.
Okay.
Not enough women talking. Yeah, we have to be out of here though. Okay. Or it's going to cost us a lot of money we don't have.
Y'all want them to. My name is Lisa Carr. I met Dedon many years ago through a program that I produced called Queens of the Nile Now. And I just would like to share a piece from that with you in remembrance of him. It was about the Queen Mother Yah Sato. Now I see